let me take this opportunity first to thank the government of Kenya for hosting us for more than 30 years. And also, I'm very happy today because it's the first devolution conference which refugees are invited. That's a step taken, and it's a milestone. And I really appreciate anybody who invited refugees to this wonderful forum and who made refugee voices to be heard in this wonderful conference. Thank you very much, and we will not take that one for granted. I'm really very happy today. If I come to what inspired me and where I came from and what I'm doing, first of all, I'm a refugee by status. My name is Anab Gedi Mohammed. I was in the refugee camps for more than 30 years. I was grown up in the refugee camps, especially Dadaab. On behalf of all the RLOs in Kenya, I'm thanking to anybody who made the refugee voices to be heard and who engaged refugees to sit down in the table and share with their grievances, their challenges, the outcomes and everything. Thank you very much.
From where you sit, political momentum is something that has always been talked about, has been spoken even previously with the presentation, that for Shirika Plan to be able to be effective, to be operational, political momentum across board, whether it's from the national government, political leadership, the county leadership, but recently, whether from, we've seen some protests happening in the camps, whether related to food aid. There's also been a bit of stakeholder pushback, some different narratives coming up in terms of what Shirika Plan is, what Shirika Plan is not, even coming up from different sectors of political leadership at the county level. So how is the government engaging on with this kind of concerns and also building trust to ensure that that political momentum and goodwill is maintained across board for operationalized?
The two levels of government actually are reading from the same script. The only bit which now we need to tie together is having a common understanding. But the end goal on what we want to see about refugees is a shared aspiration by the national government and the two county governments. So with that one, there is no dispute. It is now aligning what the objectives and the lenses of the national government are to the county's specific policies and also visions and aspirations for the refugee population. And I want to say, even this platform today, it is one of its kind. And it's the first time since devolution came into space. And a previous speaker also alluded to it, that we have never had this conversation about refugees in a holistic manner. There is a beginning to everything. I'm seeing a brighter future, more cooperation, and more coordination.
The county governments of Turkana and the county governments of Garissa should, or they are best suited to lead the efforts of implementation of Shirika Plan. But that requires significant investments, and also we need to localize Shirika Plan. I think people have talked about spatial planning, sector strategies. That is what we believe would be opportunities. Embedding refugee and host priorities into county budgets and annual development plans. We currently are doing that as the county government, but we are also facing challenges in terms of how those integrated services are costing them. And the other challenge is where the commitment from the development partners through Kakuma Integrated Socioeconomic Development 2 is very slow in terms of its implementation. Strengthening peace building and social cohesion at the community level as a shared responsibility and not replacing the national mandates is really key. I remember talking about the question of prima facie, whether there is need to discuss broadly because of the entitlements and the disruption that is caused by differentiated assistance strategy. And we feel maybe there is a need to bring some kind of order. So to me, the future of refugee management is local. And devolution is not just governance system. it is the solution.
If I talk about what inspired me to create the women-led organization, in the DAP and all the refugee camps, the highest population in the refugee camps are women, youth and children, who are the most vulnerable ones. So we are the ones who are from the community, and there are a lot of challenges here and there. When it comes to vulnerability, the rate of gender-based violence in the refugee camps was very high. And in the DAP, and even the rest of the refugees in Kenya, we have different nationalities living together, which has different perspective when it comes to cultural, when it comes to norms. So we have seen that the rate of gender-based violence in the refugee camps is very high. So we said, although we are from the community and the voice of the voiceless in the refugee camps, how can we support our people so that these things may reduce? So we created a Helgan. We started as a self-help group in 2017. What we used to do was like sensitize the community about the challenges of early marriage, forced marriage, FGM. And also, we have ideas that girls should not be taken to school. Girls should stay at home. Girls should not learn. So we said, how can we change that idea from the community so that, if you educate women, that means you have educated the whole world.
Basically, this is a reflection of when we say whole of a society approach, that, it's not only government, it's not only UNHCR, talking about refugees, international protection, it's everybody, right? The RLOs, the refugee leaders, the refugees themselves. So that is the essence of the localization, which is ultimately. At the key sector level, if, on the operationalization of the Sharika plan, I think the very first thing if you ask me and ask us, yes, UNHCR, from the day when the government of Kenya announced in 2022, I remember that there needs to be, as Commissioner rightly said, that there needs to be a comprehensive and long-term strategic roadmap rather than, a day-to-day policy. And from 1990 till 2016, we have seen spikes, rather 19, spikes in the Kenya's policy. But the progress has been commendable. The inclusion trajectory, in fact, started in 2016 onward. If you look at it, the KISIDAP, the Refugee Act, so on and so forth. So UNHCR has been supporting. And then in April 2023, this joint secretariat of UNHCR, DRS was notified to develop and operationalize the Sharika plan. And Sharika plan is there now. It's an effort of over two years. A lot of intellectual, technical, and financial investment has gone into it. And thanks to our funders who were able to provide those funds for developing that plan. Now what's next? The momentum. I think it is important to have a kind of an inclusive secretariat, inclusive coordination structure, which His Excellency Deputy Governor said, which His Excellency Natif Jama always say, and the Honorable County Speaker said, and Commissioner has rightly said that. So a kind of a inclusive coordination structure where, and by the way, the Secretariat is already there. So first step should be this, once that has it, then the sector level plans, what the technical committees down the line, and at county level, by the way, there are existing coordination structures available.
The aspect that has come is that Uganda, especially during the IGAD process, has been seen as a very progressive country when it comes to refugee policies, where refugees have the freedom of movement, the right to work, access to land under their 2006 Refugee Act and the 2010 regulations. But again, implementation has been a problem considering the numbers. Ethiopia in 2019 had a leap in its refugee proclamation as well. where it introduced the right to work, the right to live outside camps and access national services. However, due to administrative bottlenecks, that has been a problem. So how does this look like when we talk about lessons, especially from a multi-governance context? We find that for Kenya, as the Deputy Governor has mentioned, there is that complexity of that different counties have different capacities when it comes to management of this. And the Uganda Settlement Transformative Agenda, which deals with settlement of refugees, shows a delineation between national and local government, where the local government has been given a role, and also implementation guidelines where, again, as has been mentioned by the Commissioner, to avoid duplication aspects. So you find a multi-tiered approach when it comes to refugee management in Uganda. If you look at Jordan, for example, there is also the aspect of binding multi-stakeholder agreements that have been developed and that tie refugee inclusion to tangible refugee economic benefits for the host. And again, Ethiopia as well, with the CRRF regional implementation, there is need for capacity building, and I think Suhail has mentioned that aspect of capacity building at the sub-national level before rolling out this ambitious shift. So ideally, for Kenya, looking at these other countries, Uganda, Ethiopia, Jordan, you then see that in a devolved system, there is that aspect of capacity asymmetrics between counties, because this can create uneven implementation. And so there is need for targeted technical assistance, flexible approaches, and locally adapted rollout plans rather than a one-size-fits-all model.
Our expectations of the county governments, which are the host counties. So it is going to be a multi-layered kind of engagement, starting from the national government, first of all. Then we'll also have another engagement very soon with the respective county governments, so that we are all at par on what the sphere or the refugee space looks like, and what are their visions, strategies, and measures, and how we align for the two governments, because we will be continuing from where my predecessor was. Then we'll also be having engagements with the targeted population, that is the refugee communities. Then we will also be having an all-encompassing conversation, because we need to accept that there are conversations which need to be done at those different levels. And then once there is a common understanding between the two levels of government, then bring in the people we are talking about. You cannot move far if you are just making decisions without listening and sitting down to exchange ideas, to unbundle the issues with the people you are planning for. And then we also have our development partners and the NGOs, all of them. So there'll be at different levels of stakeholder engagement. But rest assured, the refugee community will be also having their own forum of engagement.
We must have services that flow based on need and not on the legal status as refugees. And that's why, to us, unlocking economic potential of both the locals and the refugees, investing in programs that stimulate development, that also attracts investments, building stronger community bonds through shared services, looking at how we map out the land, and our Chief Officer for Urban Development and Lands is here, very critical in terms of implementing the vision that we have to ensure that access to the services envisioned in the Shirika Plan or Refugee Act 2021, coordinated in a way that helps to bridge the communities. So for us, I think legal clarity on county mandates in refugee inclusion and the technical assistance that has been mentioned or required, and the expectations of both the donors and us as county government in terms of implementing a Shirika plan require long-term predictable financing for counties to drive integration. And therefore, moving from refugee response to refugee inclusion requires shared investments, shared leadership, shared accountability, and we feel that as counties or as a country, we can set global standard for refugee inclusion under Shirika plan.
We are birds of a feather. We've done a lot with the latest engagement in Turkana County was the signing of an risk-sharing facility with the IFC, where His Excellency the Governor was the chief guest in February, and we're aiming at looking for a partner that can help us give financial independence to the refugees. Instead of just the cash transfers, how can we empower them to become entrepreneurs and become more independent in empowering themselves financially? I'm happy to see the diversity of the panel. Before I came to Equity Group Foundation, I was a director of the President's Delivery Unit, and before that I was a member of Parliament for Bode constituency in Meru County. So I've had my feet in government and also in the private sector. Before I go to my request to the panelists, I want to give a few seconds of an insight of what we've been doing at Equity. Equity Group Foundation is a non-profit arm of Equity Bank, and we've been providing the platform through which development partners and the government can transfer benefits to the refugees. So far, we've done about 5.9 million beneficiaries and transferred a total of 169.8 billion Kenya shillings. This includes the old age, the orphans, the persons with disability, but for refugees specifically has been 1.1 million. We've also been very strong on education. Our biggest pillar in the foundation is education. We've taken 60,000 kids under Wings to Fly, out of which 8,000 have been from Dadaab and Kakuma refugee camps. So I fully believe in the ideal desire that we can make refugees not just a burden to the country, but an opportunity for us.
Our recommendation is the gap between the national government and the county government and the partners should be bridged. Then two, the information, the channel of information. One, I have heard the commissioner that there are some numbers that have been loaded on SHA, others on education, whether it is NEMIS, then others that have been boarded on skills. Is this information with the county government, with the refugee organizations or the people, so that we get to know that? And lastly, as a county government, as a county assembly of Turkana, we have begun the process of amending our standing orders to include the refugee affairs. What we have done, we have expanded the mandate of the justice, legal, and added and refugee affairs. That will be a committee that will be in charge of refugee affairs in the Kakuma refugee camp and in the county assembly. Then lastly, we are saying and asking the commissioner that we need to unpack the Shirika plan. Now, what is happening in Kakuma? The refugees are associating it with the Shirika plan because they don't know what it is. So we would require that the Shirika plan is unpacked to the county government, to the county assembly, to the organizations and the leadership of the refugees, such that we are all in one page and we can be able to interact using the Shirika plan. Thank you.
All right, you can encourage him by a clap. So that is just to say that a couple of the things that also they have a couple of memoranda of issues that they need you to be able to look at in your first 100 days or even 50 days that you can then be able to call them back at a later time. So with that, I think I will just want to be able to, okay, let's clap for Mr. Jonas is one of the leaders within the refugee-led organization.